Hey, so it's Josh McEwen here with episode 19 of Dufferin Spotlight on Business, where we bring your community to you by letting you know what's available in the area while highlighting the advantages of shopping local. And this week, Rob and I are joined by the owner of Party Safari, Jennifer Weaver. And through Party Safari, Jennifer introduces all kinds of critters to those in our community in order to increase kindness towards animals and appreciation for nature. Jennifer cares for a wide variety of animals, including exotics, making it possible for the people of Dufferin to meet all kinds of creatures they may not have had the chance to otherwise. Party Safari caters to groups of all kinds, from classrooms and camps to corporate events and seniors' residences, making it super easy for you to meet her amazing friends. Big thanks to Jennifer for her time and for making the show possible, and thank you to the audience for listening. And I hope you enjoy this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So this is Josh McEwen here with Dufferin Spotlight on Business, and I'm joined by Rob Bailey.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing good today. Today we're lucky enough to have Jennifer Weaver in from Party Safari. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business to get started, that'd be great.
Sure, I'd love to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what I offer educational presentations with exotic critters. So no lions, tigers, and bears. They're all smaller, more portable, easier to handle animals. And I take them to birthday parties, senior centers, schools, guides, and scouts. Basically any gathering of people. So whether it's young or old, everybody's a big kid, right? Or a little kid.
Corporate events as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, you cater to everybody. And again, seniors groups, that's amazing. Having them interact with more animals as well, especially when you're going to seniors' homes, like if it's like nursing homes and stuff like that, I think it'd be very great for them to get exposed to some of these animals.
It's actually one of my favorite visits to do because they're so excited and they're so happy to see everything. And, you get the odd one that doesn't really know what they're touching, but, they're just happy to be doing something. And I have a really hard time sometimes leaving just because we have such a great time and everybody wants to, the snakes are really popular there. And the birds as well. Birds are very popular.
I can see the bird. I'm surprised by the snakes. That's amazing to me.
The odd one might not want to touch. I did have an older lady who couldn't see very well and didn't hear very well. And I said, would you like to touch the snake? And she said, okay. And she started touching and she said, just as long as it's not a snake. And I said, okay. And she finished touching and we carried on. And I didn't take the snake to her the next time, but she was quite happy to touch. And, they have a really good time and they like to challenge each other to, there's some ribbing going on, touch the snake. Yeah. And so it's pretty fun.
That's good. That's awesome. And that's got to make it unique too, dealing with all these different kinds of groups. That must make it really interesting in addition to working with all the animals as well. And thank you for joining us, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Just so it's clear, everyone, we already did a first take of this. I forgot to push record. So if things sound a little bit weird, that's why.
With all the little, giggling a little bit.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Anyways. So we're going to go on, but thank you. And thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. So if you don't mind, would you mind telling us about what your most popular products and services are?
Sure, I do a lot of birthday parties. That's probably one of the most popular. And I have different packages. I have the basic safari, which is a 1-hour presentation. And the most popular package that I have is the photo safari, which is a 1-hour presentation. Then after the presentation's over, the kids get to pick, or adults, whoever, get to pick their favorite animal to have a picture taken with. So I bring my digital camera and my little small printer, and I print the picture off right there.
Awesome.
So it's kind of fun and cool. That's actually one of my favorite things is the pictures.
Yeah, I'm sure that especially the young ones would really like that.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of, show them your picture that you took 2 years ago, and I see all the pictures that they've had, and, some of them will have, 3 or 4 pictures, and a lot of times it's the same animal. They want to see the same one again and again, which is okay,
Yeah, it's their new friend.
Yep.
That's awesome. Again, you have such a wide variety of animals that you work with, and which I think we'll cover in a couple of minutes here. But it's amazing that they develop these relationships with them, especially when it's their first introduction. You made that happen. It must feel pretty amazing sometimes.
It really kind of does.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, especially when they're, did you bring Buttercup, or did you bring, so-and-so? And there's been the odd show that I've done, and it's the same group of friends. So one summer I hit 3 different parties, and they were all basically the same kids. And they say, did you bring So I'll ask whoever I'm talking to, the contact person, which animals would you like, and where did you hear about us? And well, we saw you at so-and-so's party. So I'll go back and I'll look at my notes because I try and write down the animals that I've taken. I thought, okay, I'll mix it up a little bit. And then I go to the show thinking, oh yeah, this is great. They're going to see something new. And they want to see every animal that they saw the last time, right?
Where's Buttercup?
Where's Buttercup? How about Nettle? Where's the spider? Where's, and they just, I guess it's like an old friend, right? They want to see.
I mean, sorry if I cut you off.
No,
there,
that's fine.
But that just shows you how much they enjoy that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a group of kids, and then the next one has their birthday coming up, and I want to do the same thing that my friend did, and then all over again. So, I mean, in a way, like, that's awesome getting to see those same kids over and over again because you know that they're enjoying it that much.
It is great. Each year they come up to, oh, remember me? And I thought, oh, goodness, you got to stop growing. I can't keep up. Everyone's getting so old and they're growing up because there's some that I've, every couple of years I'll go in and do a show and you're basically watching them grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Especially if they have, like, the younger siblings, too, right? And then
Yep.
you see the older one at the party and you remember going back. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think about that part.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And, the little guys are all, and the older ones are, yeah, we've done this. And, thinking they're pretty cool because they know the deal, right?
Yeah,
But then they want to come down and visit.
they get to try and tell the younger ones what's going to happen, and then you turn around, surprise them, bring new critters.
Right,
and,
yeah.
Awesome. So if you don't mind, can you just go into some of the animals that you work with?
Sure. Each presentation, I try and mix it up. So I try and bring something for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So there's the reptiles, which are snakes, lizards, and turtles. I bring a bird, depending on the group size, because birds are a little bit trickier in the summertime. They're not going to come if it's outside in case something happens and they decide to take a little fly. And our animal list depends on age group and the venue that I'm at. And, there's a lot of different things I have to keep in mind for the animals that I choose.
Yeah.
We also have smaller mammals, so chinchilla, hedgehog, sugar gliders, and guinea pig. We have some creepy crawlies, scorpions and tarantulas, frogs and toads, the amphibians. There's quite a few. So there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
There's my good old dependable ones that are good for the little guys right up to the big kids. Because they're good for everyone. And then there's some that are just much better for older groups, for adults or, high school kids.
Awesome.
Would you like to talk about any major projects or jobs that you have coming up?
March break is usually pretty busy, and that's always a really fun time. I have a lot of different groups coming up. But one of the things I want to work on this year is some different packages for older kids. So maybe some stress relief in the workplace, which would be really good. It's kind of, I know that there's a lot of dogs that will go into different workplaces, and it's good stress relief. But I think that snakes and tarantulas and hedgehogs make really good stress relief too.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on the person, I guess. But, snakes are actually pretty amazing because they're something about the weight of them and the feel of them and the way that they move. If you're into it, it's actually quite relaxing. If I've had a bad day or if I'm feeling insecure, I like to hold a snake. It makes me feel safe, believe it or not. It makes me feel good.
Like a safety blanket?
Well, kind of, right? And and just the way that they move, and it's actually really good for students who have trouble focusing on some things. Sometimes if they hold a snake in one hand, it's easier to focus on other things too. So they're all pretty cool. And I mean, who doesn't love a hedgehog, right? I mean, that's good stress relief. And another thing actually is team building is what I was thinking of too for some businesses. Because I think, you have a group of adults get together and challenge themselves to touch snakes and stepping outside their comfort zone and doing some things that maybe they're not so used to doing. Yeah, it's a good challenge.
Yeah, which is great. Like we were talking about before too. I mean, with what you're doing with that too, you're getting a lot of people more comfortable with reptiles and critters that maybe they didn't get a chance to grow up with, right? And
exactly. And these days too, I find a lot of houses just don't have a pet. Like these kids there's some kids that are growing up without even any animal at home. So it's not only is it a different animal than cats and dogs and hamsters, but some just don't even have much experience with animals to begin with. So any chance that I get to introduce to different animals and show that, a snake is just as cool as a cat or a dog, and, all animals are amazing. That's my goal, is to teach, right? And every one of them is important.
Well, it's awesome getting to open people's mind up to new things, new ideas, right? And I mean, giving people the chance to hold them and see what they're all about and get some of your knowledge. I mean, you can change a lot of people's minds, and in the future, they might go out and give a pet a good home, right?
Yeah, it's
give
happened.
A reptile a chance, and yeah.
There's been quite a few people that have met my one snake, Buttercup. She's a good example. She's a superstar, right? She's a ball python, and she's amazing. I love her so much I could cry, right? Like, she's just such a good snake, and she's so tolerant, and she doesn't care who's holding her. And, she's about 4 feet, and a thicker snake. So she's not really fast moving, and it's a really good snake for those who are a little bit scared. And there have been some people that have said, there's no way I'm touching. I'm not going to touch it all. Nope, I have no need to touch. And then, they might touch a little bit and then they go, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then by the end of my visit, they're actually holding her and saying, wow, this is actually kind of awesome.
Well,
yeah.
That's one thing, too, that a lot of people who haven't had the chance to be around them, I mean, they're not as scaly or rough or
slimy
like some people have these ideas in their head, right? They're actually like silky smooth.
Yeah.
But once again, that's kind of just the bad rap around them that they get for no reason a lot of the time.
Yeah. My rule is touch them 3 times. So if you're a little bit nervous, because the first time we always touch really fast, and we kind of, when they touch the first time, they freak themselves out a little bit. Oh, they don't really pay attention to what they're touching. And then the second time, and then by the third time, I try and say, if you can hold your finger there for like 5 seconds, that's really good. And then they do, and then they realize, oh, it's not slimy. And as I'm doing that, depending on the person, I'll say, what does it feel like? Is it warm or is it cold? Is it rough or is it smooth? Is it hard or is it soft? And asking those questions will help them actually pay attention to what they're, instead of that fear that they have of, oh, I'm touching something really scary, they're actually concentrating on what they're touching and can touch it a little bit better and feel it a little bit better, and then maybe not be so scared. And some people just really are not a fan, and that's cool, right? If you don't love them like I do, that's fine. And then other people, it's just because they've never had experience with them, and they realize that it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, there's worse things.
There's way worse things.
I'm sure you have a lot of kids going home from parties and from school going, Mom, I want to go get a snake.
Especially with the pictures, right? And they, some of the kids will say, oh, when my mom sees this picture.
She's going to freak. Yeah, look what I did today.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, though, because, you're working to help reduce the stigma with some of these animals and teaching these kids to treat them with the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, 100%.
That's great, because, like Rob was saying, and how you both have said, like, these kids really, and a lot of us, do not get the exposure to some of these animals, and we just live our lives in somewhat fear of them. And some people's first instinct is like to kick at some of these animals, which is ridiculous. So it's awesome. Part of it is only possible because you care about these animals so much, and that you're managing them and raising them the right way. Because if you weren't, they wouldn't be so friendly to humans.
Yeah, it's all in handling them. And
exactly.
A lot of people will say to me, oh, did you train this snake? Did you train this animal? And I say, no, actually, I didn't. They trained me. So what I do is I listen to the animal, right? So I take them out to a couple shows where I handle them, and I realize the best way to handle them, what they like, because each animal is different. Like you could have 3 of the same species of snake, and they're all different. They have their own personalities, and they like different things. Or the hedgehogs. Or so all my presentations are geared around how the animals actually like to be interacted with, and I don't force them to conform to some certain template that I have. Each animal, and I know which one is which, and what they like and what they don't like, and that's how we interact with them. This one doesn't mind if we touch it here, but it doesn't like to be touched there. It doesn't like the end of its tail to be touched, and stuff like that, right? And whereas another one could care less. So it's basically they've trained me, and I pay attention to their body language and what they're telling me, and go from there.
It's got to be a lot to manage.
Sometimes.
With that too, if you get that animal, whatever it is, from when it's young and you're handling it all the time, that'll make a big difference compared to, if someone goes out and gets a pet and they don't have the time for it and they just leave it sitting there, and then
Oh, exactly.
You go in there and you just kind of reach in and grab and expect it to be open to you handling it. They're probably not going to like that, but you spend a lot of time with all of your animals and your critters, your reptiles, and they're used to it. They like it, and I'm sure they have as much fun as everyone else at those events.
Well, it's something for them to do. It's enrichment for the animals as well to be taken out and doing some stuff. And it really depends on the animal too. When I'm getting ready to go to the shows, if one that, normally is no problem at all, and I open the enclosure and it looks like they're just not in the mood, then they don't come. They stay at home and we move on to the next one because, they have a right to say no as well.
We're not always in the mood to be social either. So.
Exactly.
I think it's easier for the snakes to say no.
Yeah.
Than it is for us, right?
It's more frowned upon when we do it.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, this is our first commercial break. We're new, so we'll just take this time to let you know more about what Dufferin Spotlight on Business is all about, which is a weekly show that features discussions from business leaders from around Dufferin County regarding their businesses and accomplishments. The achievements of small business owners largely go unnoticed, but it is our goal to recognize them, as these are the people who keep small communities like ours alive. In addition to this, we will highlight the advantages of shopping local. So be sure to check back each week to see the amazing things people are doing through their businesses. To learn more about what we do and other shows that we will be producing, be sure to check out dufferinspotlight.ca. Now I hope you enjoy the rest of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So how many people do you employ today?
Me and the critters.
That's got to be a lot.
Yeah, so
Everything is a lot to manage.
you know, I have a certain way that I do things, and my animals are very, very important to me, and I would not want somebody taking my animals and representing me at an event at this time. I feel more comfortable being there, and I have a certain way that I like the presentations to go. And every now and then I'll get some help, like some students. You know, I have a lot of younger ones that think it's, you know, the most amazing thing ever. So sometimes I'll get them to come along and help out events, like especially if it's a booth, they get to stand behind and learn some things and talk to some people, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
It is, you know, it gives them a great experience talking to people and being in a crowd, which is, you know, a little bit tough. It used to be hard for me too, talking to people.
Well,
but
if you put that on your resume, like that's going to be a conversation starter.
yeah,
Like, it will be.
Yeah.
What is they're reading you? What?
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, it's because even same as us when we started this, neither of us were really comfortable with what we're doing. But when you get out there and you start talking to people, and it's a good skill to have in life because, I mean, yeah, like Josh said, it'll help you when you go and you have interviews down the line, and when you get into those situations where you have to talk to people and communicate, and it'll help you open up, right?
Yep. Oh, exactly.
Exactly. No, so it's great that you're providing that opportunity for them to develop those skills while working with some pretty cool animals.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's pretty fun.
That's great.
So, where do you think that most of your competition comes from?
There is a local company in the area that does the same thing, and they have the same kind of animals that I do, maybe some different. Each company has different, and then there's a few bigger ones from the city that are mostly reptiles, but I don't just stick to reptiles. I like to have all the different animals for everyone. So there's some really big companies, and then there's some smaller ones around. There's a few of them.
What areas do you cover?
My local range is an hour radius of Shelburne.
Awesome.
But I will go outside. You know, we just have to cover travel.
Makes sense. I think a lot of it's for the care of the animals too, right? Like you don't want to go too far a distance with a lot of these animals.
Exactly, especially different times of year, right?
Exactly.
If it's super cold, it's not a great, you know, the animals are in, I travel with them in smaller enclosures, so smaller cages if it's a bird, or smaller, kind of like Rubbermaid totes,
Yeah.
which, you know, the animals actually feel secure in something that's smaller.
Good.
But, you know, you don't want them in there for super long periods.
And I mean, you have to climate control the car, I imagine,
Yep.
towards the animals too. So it's a whole thing. Like, yeah.
So I'm in my t-shirt
Yeah.
with the heat blasting, and they're all, you know, in the back. You know, I have an electric blanket for the car that you plug into the adapter thing,
Yeah.
and some heat packs, kind of like, you know, the hand warmers or the feet warmers that you can get. You shake them and they warm up. But
Yeah.
they're for animals, right? So they last about 40 hours. You know, I put those in their enclosures, or I put them in the big tote that I carry, so that, you know, that helps keep them warm and stuff like that. And if it's a bigger event, maybe that I have tanks set up, I have lights, you know, basking lights and heat pads, and, you know, under tank heat pads and stuff like that, and electric blankets to keep them warm and stuff. So I always have to keep in mind where I'm going. Most houses are fairly warm these days, and, you know, so an average house is fine for them to visit and not be, you know, if they're only there for an hour, you know, an hour and a half, that's fine. But yeah, I have to keep track. And if I'm going to be out for a long time, I actually have one of those thermo guns to, you know, keep on top of the
Make sure
temperature.
that everything's happy and warm.
Yeah.
It's got to be a lot. I mean, you got to get everything ready. You got to transport. And I mean, then you have to do the presentation afterwards.
Yeah.
And again, if you've been like sweating in the car the whole time, like I wouldn't do well. Like, it takes a tough person, like it really does. And I mean, and again, someone that cares about the animals, like that really is, I think, key of part of what you're about, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's clear, because I mean, you're only able to do what you do if you care for the animals, because then they'll care for you.
Well, exactly. There's a lot of love.
Yeah.
And you want to go through all these steps because you actually care about the well-being of your animals, and you make sure you take the extra steps and do the extra work just to make sure that they stay safe and happy and healthy.
Exactly.
The main thing, healthy, yeah.
Awesome. So what do you think makes you different from the competition?
So some, like I mentioned before, some of the bigger companies are just reptiles. You know, they have the bigger, you know, I get asked a lot, do you have a crocodile? And I say, no, I don't have a crocodile.
Serious?
Well, and crocodiles are so cool, right? But the average person cannot have a crocodile, right? So I tell them, I said, you know, some of the kids will ask me, and I'll say, well, I don't have room for a big crocodile or an alligator, right? The alligator is usually what they ask. And they say, well, you could just get a baby one. So then that's my teaching moment. And I say, I could get a baby one, but then what do I do with it when it gets bigger? And they say, well, you could give it to somebody. And I say, well, you know what? There's nobody I can give it to, because we're actually not supposed to have big ones. And yes, they're really cool, but even my smallest little animal is, in my mind, just as cool as an alligator.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's what I try and teach, that, you know, this little scorpion is just as cool, or this little guinea pig. Like, every animal is really important and really cool. So I don't need the big kangaroo.
Alligator.
Yeah, the alligator and maybe a kangaroo and stuff, because number one, I can't house them.
Yeah.
And I have to have animals that I can responsibly house and ethically. And the other thing is, when we get down to it, these smaller animals are just as cool.
Yeah.
Well, and the kids can actually, everyone, but especially for the kids and the younger ones, they can handle most of what you have, right? So it's a more hands-on experience, and they get to be more active in it, where if you did have these bigger ones, you can look at them, but not everyone could really handle them.
Exactly. And I am more about the smaller, intimate, more hands-on presentations. I'm a stage show I can do. It's not my favorite thing. My main problem would be if I was on the stage and only a couple kids could be chosen to touch, who do I choose?
Yeah, that's tough.
Oh, I can't. It's so hard. I can do it, and I definitely would, but I prefer smaller groups where the kids can get their hands on and we can talk about stuff. And if they have questions, I can answer them and I can listen to them, and that's because that's how they learn, right? They ask the questions. And the other thing that I'm actually really good at is really young kids. So I do a lot of early years groups, like the early on groups. And you do a lot of smiling and nodding and laughing, because those kids are so much fun. And it's basically, maybe I don't speak as much and I don't tell them as much information, but you'd be surprised how smart some of them are. They're pretty smart. It's just basically an introduction to animals and how we touch gentle, and teaching respect for the animals and also for them. And if they say no, then I listen to that and I respect their wishes, and so it goes both ways. But yeah, the early on groups, like the really young kids, are a lot of fun, and I think it's super duper important, because they're learning how to get along with animals, and
100%.
Yeah, even their friends, right? If we must be gentle, and we have to treat our animals with kindness, and our friends too.
Oh, yeah, good teaching moments.
And they get to do it in a fun environment too, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big plus. They're not just looking at a picture, hearing it from someone. They're actually
touching and
once
learning,
again,
and
get to be hands-on with it.
Yeah, and they've met, Pokey, the bearded dragon that's from Australia. So maybe then we'll care about the fires in Australia that are going on, right? Not for the little guys, of course, they don't understand that, but for the older kids, I can say, this is where this comes from, and teach them about different parts of the world too. So it, kind of broadens their horizons a little bit.
People want to help the environment as well, right? If they know, this is their habitat and they need this habitat to continue to be around, then maybe, they'll all want to do their part to help.
They are the upcoming people that will take care of the planet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what do you think customers should look at when they're going to do business with someone in your profession?
That's actually a really good question. Insurance is a really good point. If you have a company that doesn't carry insurance, then maybe that's not the best choice. So make sure that they have good insurance coverage, make sure that their animals look healthy, and ask a lot of questions, right? Ask some questions about the animals, ask if they can choose some of the animals, which I will, but I also say that I can't guarantee that the animals chosen will be able to come, because in the end, it's up to the animals, right? If they're in shed or they're not in the mood, then they don't come. Yeah, and just ask some questions. But pretty much a lot of the companies that are around here, they're good and they're well respected. I know some of them very well, and we're all trying for the same thing. We're just trying to educate and get the word out and spread the love of animals.
Awesome.
I think, like you said too, that's one of probably the most important things, is that you want to make sure that their animals are being treated fairly and that they're healthy, right? Because if not, that's something that you probably don't really want to be supporting. Where you yourself, you make sure that all of your animals are healthy, happy, and yeah, you know what? Maybe once in the odd time, someone might get disappointed that their favorite one can't make it, but it's better that way, because it shows that you're caring about the animal.
Yeah.
And if they're in a situation or condition that they don't want to come out, then it's the right thing to do to leave them there where they're happy and comfy, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. The other thing too is safety. If you get some feedback on how they do the presentation, and keep an eye out on safety. Is it safe for the animals? Is it safe for the kids? If everything is safe, then it's a great thing.
And to go along with that, like you mentioned, which I wouldn't think of, but I should, is insurance. It's easy to overlook that. Especially if you're just again trying to get your kid's birthday party going on, right? It's not one of those things that first comes to mind, but the person you're working with should really be insured. Again, it's the same reason we have car insurance, right?
Well, exactly. And never has there ever been an incident. But just like you said, you get house insurance, you get car insurance. Doesn't mean that something's going to happen, but you're protected, right? And it shows that you're willing to put in the money, in the investment into insurance, and you take it seriously, and you're not a fly-by-night company that's just doing, yeah, sure, I'll bring my
Exactly.
whatever to a party. Yeah.
100%. I think it should put a lot of people's minds at ease because, again, like, it's not something you think about, but as soon as you do, it's like, oh, yes, I'm actually really glad. Like, it's great. It's great.
Same thing too, I guess, not brought up, but probably even if you know someone that's had them come around before, or if you look at reviews, because once again, not everyone's good with kids. I mean, you're excellent with kids, and especially if it's a child's birthday party, you want to make sure you have someone there that's good with kids. Right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
That can entertain
and know how to distract and confuse, which is one of my, it's a good tactic.
Yeah.
Like, like some of the little guys, if they're, getting a little upset or, birthday parties are hard, right? They're hard on the kids because it's just something that's not normal. So a lot of times, these kids are acting out in a way that they don't normally. So, sometimes I can break into song, which is not really good, but, whatever, right? You distract and confuse and get their attention. And, a lot of times we stand up and we stretch. You have to know kids as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to know how to
do what you got to do. And I mean, and it's not for everyone, right?
It's true. Yeah.
You have to be a certain kind of person, but like same thing with what you're saying, the distract and confuse. I mean, because you never know what they're going to throw at you, so you have to have something up your sleeve to
That's true.
Get them paying attention, throw something interesting out there, and
smile and nod too. That's a good one. Yeah, you have to know how to smile and nod and go with the flow.
I'm not too sure what you just said, but yes, that's great.
Hi everyone, Josh here with another commercial break. So now that you know what the show is all about, let me tell you more about what our mission is with Dufferin Spotlight as a whole. We are looking to cover issues that do not get enough attention by the public, in non-divisive ways, with the hope of increasing awareness and moving discussions forward. In addition to this, with our content, we also aim to support those affected or are trying to solve these issues. There are a lot of issues we'd like to cover, which means a lot of shows. We already have a new show slated for this year, this one completely unrelated to business, but still involves the people of Dufferin. We've got a lot on the go, so be sure to follow Dufferin Spotlight on Facebook to keep up with the latest news. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So when you were younger, did you think you'd be doing this?
Oh, I didn't know this would be a thing, actually. We've had many pets, and animals have always been really important, but I didn't know. Actually, no, if you had asked me when I was younger if I would be speaking in front of groups, I would have said no way.
Yeah?
Yeah, that I would not be doing that because public speaking, was to me, and it still is sometimes terrifying. Not so much now. And the reason why it's okay is because I have an animal. If it was just me standing up giving a speech, I wouldn't do as well, but it's about my animals, right? And I can easily talk about them.
That's awesome.
So I would not have thought that ever would I have been doing a podcast. And I don't have an animal here, so I know. I almost did. I almost brought something. Just in my pocket. Just as security.
I mean, but that's the thing too, and that shows right there that you have the passion for it, which we say all the time, right? You have to be a successful business, and that shows there that how much you care about the animals and everything, that you're willing to put your fears to the side and go out there and help teach people, right?
Yeah, when you do a good job of it too, like you've been able to make your business on it. That says a lot. You care about the animals a lot to be able to put that aside, to be able to build your business on something that you're not comfortable doing.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It's true. Well, and after a while, the things that kids say to you, it just tends to bounce off you, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things, actually, one of the last parties that I did, there's this one little 2-year-old. Oh my goodness, she was so cute. Anyway, she kept asking all these questions, which is amazing, right? That's really cool. She's asking questions, and I was answering, do turtles talk? And I said, no, they don't. Well, they do make some noise, but they don't say words, and, they let us. Anyway, so I was trying to talk. So I bring the animal out, and I'm talking, and there's some older kids there, so I'm trying to tell them about the animal, and she was talking kind of to the side, and the parents are like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine, right? This is what kids do. Anyway, so finally she says, you're talking too much. What? And I turned to the mom and I said, did she just tell me I'm talking too much? She's like, yeah, sorry. I'm like, it's all good. I guess we'll get on with the show here.
Wow. What a brave 2-year-old.
So, when kids tell you, my hair's messy, or, the one thing they don't like to tell me, though, is that I have bird poop on my shirt. They tend to let me walk around with that. They let and I think they all kind of giggle, but yeah. Otherwise, kids are very honest. Yeah. And they'll tell you things.
Yeah.
So
They're honest with, the things you don't want to hear, but when it comes to, like you said, the bird poop on the shoulder,
and then they're all like, are you going to say something? No, I'm not going to say something. We'll just let her walk out. I said to this one group, and I had bird poop on my, because it happens.
Yeah.
And I realized it was an older group, and they're all kind of like, oh, I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to let her know. And I said to them, were you going to let me walk out of here with bird poop on my shirt? And they're all like, yes. Well, thanks, guys. That's kind. Oh, well.
It's not nice of you. If you don't mind me asking, where was your first job?
Babysat local kids and scooped ice cream.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I grew up in the Forks Credit, and there's a little ice cream shop down there, so I scooped ice cream.
Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Awesome. And I mean, babysitting too, again, like you got to work with kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that helps. I mean,
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Probably a little easier babysitting the reptiles now.
Yeah. They don't have quite as much to say.
Yeah.
Would you like to discuss your education?
Sure. After high school, I went to an agricultural college,
Wow.
and I took equine technology, which is horses.
Yeah.
So I took a horse course. Yeah, so that was a 2-year program up in New Liskeard, Ontario. Horses were my first love. I've been a horse crazy since I was little. And I got out of high school, and I would like to do something, but I'm not really sure. Horses. Yeah, I like horses. So it was basically schooling just to have your own barn.
Okay.
Right, so maybe you're going to teach. So we learned all kinds of things like animal health, food and nutrition, barn management.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So then we had this big senior project that was, at the time, we all complained about, but it was really actually quite smart because you had to set up and run a business for 5 years, I think it was. I can't, it was a little while ago. So we had to show all the financial. You had to come up with things that might go wrong. We had to have like 3 different things that we'd get an income from.
Yeah.
So it was, at the time, when you're younger, it's like a lot of work, but it was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's just preparing you to own a horse barn and have a career in the equine industry.
Wow.
And I could see how that could benefit you even down the road with what you're doing now. I mean, it might not be in the equestrian area, but being able to look into the future to see what you're going to need for a business plan, I'm sure has helped you. And I mean, you're still working with animals, so
Yep.
Animal health, all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
there's a ton of stuff I think that would lay a good foundation, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And at the time I didn't really see it, right?
Yeah.
But it was
I don't
cool.
wanna
It
do
was
this project. Yeah.
It was and even the whole, food and nutrition, right? Like
Oh, yeah, I never thought of it.
farm safety even, right? Like it was but it's pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
So it was super fun. We had a good time, riding. I mean, come on, school that you get to ride at. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And I worked, in the horse industry for a while and taught some riding camp. So again, with the kids.
Awesome.
And life carries on, and just a bit of a change of location and stuff like that. So I got away from the horse, but I still care for horses every now and then.
Yeah.
And my daughter's a rider, so still the horses there.
Yeah.
You still get to be part.
I do. I just don't own them anymore. That's okay, as long as I get to visit.
I'm sure they're probably not the cheapest animal to own.
They're not, and it's it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you start, buy, or inherit this business?
I started it with a business partner.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we started it, and we kind of thought, this would be kind of cool. I think we both had the idea of educating, and like Steve Irwin was kind of cool on TV.
Yeah,
that
100%.
kind of stuff. Even though he was a little bit wild and crazy about that kind of thing, and we both loved animals, so we decided that would be something cool. So we just started up small and gradually collected some animals, and went from there.
Wow, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And if that's already an interest or a hobby, it wouldn't be too hard to start building up
No.
a collection of animals, right?
And the thing is, there's a saying, snakes are kind of like potato chips. Once you have one, or you can never have just one, sorry. Yeah, that's the saying. So once and then in the beginning, it is a little intimidating when you're your first snake or your first reptile, but then once you have one, you know more about them. It's easier to take care of them because you have that much experience. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I think you can attest to that.
Yeah, I've had some reptiles over time. Yeah,
They're awesome.
Yeah, I've had a couple different boas. I love boas, and maybe one day again. But I had to downsize, so
Life happens, right?
unless you got to think about that more than yourself, right? So
Exactly.
but in the future maybe. So did you have any investors, or was credit financing available to you when you started, or did you just have to save up on your own?
I just kind of saved up on my own. Found in the beginning it was a lot of rehoming animals that people didn't want anymore.
Okay.
So I brought in a lot of rescues and just kind of built it up. And then my business partner left in 2010, and I've been on my own since then. So, she had some animals, and, I rehomed some of them as well. But it's basically, I'm just putting money back into the business. I wouldn't have even considered financing. I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And I had kids, and it was something that I could do on the weekends when the husband was home. And, started off small and thought this is a great idea, but didn't really know how it would go, and have just, tried to keep it growing and try and improve things and change things. And, maybe this year I can do this. And, just kind of, it's taken a long time, and it just grew slowly, which is fine because, I had my kids to take care of. And now that I don't necessarily have them anymore, then, I can concentrate more on the business and keep busy with that.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's better to build up than just jump in as well, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Same thing. Make sure it's for you as well. And sometimes people jump into things and it works out for them. Other times, not so much. And especially with animals too. Like, you want to make sure that you figure out the animal and the routine, and make sure you have the time for all those animals, right?
Well, exactly. It sounds like a great thing and super fun, but if I had just jumped in and bought however many animals
that would have been a nightmare.
It would have been, and that would have been a lot of work. And then if you're not booking the parties at that time, then it's not just me that I have to think about, it's the animals as well. If things weren't working out, it's not just me not getting an income, it's the animals that are needing food, right? So you build up slowly, and you start with we started with one snake. We had one snake, and my business partner had a couple animals, and that's how we started, right?
Yeah, never mind. It's extremely important you get the parties to book, because that's how you pay off the loan.
Yeah.
But at least when you're slowly building up, you can get one animal at a time or a couple at a time, and then you know what you can actually manage, versus getting a $10,000 loan and then going out and buying a bunch of animals, and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, because they're not
horrible.
And they're animals. They're not, they're not equipment. Or
exactly.
And you have to, wow, that would be such a cool animal to go. You have these things in your head, like, a specific animal, but you may think it's going to be a really cool animal at a show, but it doesn't always work out that way. When I take the animals in, or if I happen to purchase one that I think is going to be ideal for the business and it doesn't work out, then I'm responsible for taking care of that animal. I don't just, it's no longer good for me. So I have, an old milk snake that's been long retired, and he's still kicking around, and, he just eats, and he's, and I leave him be, and he's retired, and another snake that is not suitable for presentations because he's just not fond of it. And if I find the right home, then maybe I'll see about rehoming him, but I'm not in any hurry, because I'm just going to, I need to be responsible for the animals that I bring in, and I have to, willing to be responsible for their care for as long as, I can, as they are ideally alive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing too. It's not just a matter of getting the animal off your hands either. You want to make sure that they find a suitable home as well, someone that's going to take care of them because you care about them, right?
Well, exactly.
It's not just pawning it off to someone else, right?
Yeah, this is not working for me. I'm just going to, no. And I would not be really good at selling animals. People say, oh, do you breed them? And I don't. There's been, I just had 11 baby scorpions born. That wasn't planned, but I'm not going to just, give them to everybody. I would not be very good at selling the animals, because I need to make sure that they're going to a good home and they're going to be taken care of, and not just given to somebody else after this person gets tired of the animal.
Well, like you said it perfectly. Like, they're animals, they're not equipment, they're not supplies, they're not inventory. Like, they're animals. Like, they should be treated as such. And it's clear that your business is built on that. Like, not, again, on selling them, or your income isn't on that. Like,
right.
It's about teaching people and caring for them, which is again, amazing. And we're so lucky, because again, not everyone has this opportunity. So, kids in our community are really lucky that you're around.
Well, thank you.
Showing them. It's respect true, because, people do not respect the animals as much as they should sometimes.
Oh, yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And that's that's one of our things that people ask. I'm not sure if I touched on this, but ask if, why doesn't the snake bite? Is it going to bite me? And they're really concerned that the snake is going to bite. And I say, if you show it kindness and respect, then it has no need to bite us. Like, just because it's a snake doesn't mean it's going to bite. Like, we have to show kindness and respect. And even the little guys, we have to learn how to touch gentle, and we don't touch them. And I find sometimes with a booth style setup, where I have tanks of animals and stuff, that's a lot of what I talk to kids about is, please, let's not tap on the glass. And then they ask, well, it's not moving. And I, have to explain that it doesn't need to move. It's an animal, and he chooses to sit still right now, and we have to respect that. And, so everything that I'm doing, that's the main lesson, is treating them with respect and with kindness.
Hi everyone, this is Josh here with a third commercial break. So now that you know about the show and the overall mission of Dufferin Spotlight, you're probably asking yourself how we're going to pay for it all. We will provide advertising opportunities to interested parties, primarily local businesses, so they can reach people just like you. We prefer working with small local businesses as that's what we are, and it stops us from getting too reliant on big corporations who already have enough influence over the media landscape. If you are an organization who is interested in working with Dufferin Spotlight to promote your products or services, please reach out to us through our website, dufferinspotlight.ca, so we can bring your community to you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. So who was your first employee?
When I had my business partner still, we received a fan letter from a young girl who went to one of the parties and she really loved it and she thought it was the best thing ever. And she, it was actually kind of neat. So, we know her from a small community, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So she was a younger girl, so we said, okay, well, let's give it a chance. And our children actually helped us out too. So I guess they technically were first. But she was the first outside of the family, and we brought her in and said, would you like to help out? And she said, sure. And yeah, it was pretty cool. So she went from attending the parties to helping out at the parties and events and stuff like that. So
it'd be awesome seeing someone contact you because I seen what you do and they've actually been to your parties and they want to get involved with it, right?
Yeah, and it was pretty cute. I sent her the letter a while ago. I said, look you were so cute.
Awesome. That's going to make you really feel good.
Yeah, because, then you grow up with them. For a while there was quite a few, like high school students, and I found I had a really good group of my neighbors that would help me out. And I'm very picky on who cares for my animals. If I do happen to go away, and I have a couple that are my all-stars that, I call on them, and they understand my pickiness, I guess. Yeah. My manual for the week that I'm away and all that, and they smile and nod at me. And so I've been very fortunate, but right now I don't have many helpers except for if I do happen to go away. But yeah, so the first one was a young girl that sent us a fan letter.
That's awesome. That's such a great story.
Yeah.
So great.
I mean, it's a good thing, too, that you are, if you need to, able to have that time away and have people that you can trust and rely on to be there. Because, I mean, I'm sure anyone listening that has an animal knows it's not easy just to pawn off your pet to someone, right?
Yeah, like one dog.
Yeah.
Let alone a room full of different species of animals, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like to talk about what your biggest challenge was in starting your business?
Well, I think it's with most businesses getting the word out.
Yeah.
Right? That's tricky. It's hard work. I've been 12 plus years, right?
Yeah.
Doing this, and they're still in Dufferin, and a lot of business in Orangeville, and there's still people, I've never heard of Party Safari. And I'm like, we've been around for a while.
Yeah.
So it's tough to get the word out. And I find that, I really have to be out there with the animals showing, talking to people, and that's the best way.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of the business is repeat business or word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
People who have actually, talked to me and stuff, and they really do have to see the animals and how I interact with them. And yeah, it's basically that's one of the toughest is getting the word out.
Well, and then, I mean, especially like right off the get-go, because you didn't have anyone yet, like getting those first parties going. And then, because I mean, once people see what you're doing and what a good job you do, then you're getting the calls in, people looking for you. But I can't imagine how tough it'd be for the first bit, right, to get out there, especially, I mean, over 12 years ago too. I mean, now you look at reptile shows and how big they're getting, but I'm sure then it was probably more of like a niche, like smaller thing, and people were a little more skeptical, right?
Facebook wasn't as big.
No, I was not on Facebook back then. Yeah. So it was difficult. But the good news was, though, that I didn't have any grand plans to have this big, massive business that because I had my kids, right? So it actually worked out fairly well. Like I could gradually grow it and,
That's good.
And yeah, it worked fairly well.
Like you were talking about earlier too, I mean, with not having that plan to have this gigantic business is a good thing. And it works for you too, because I mean, just from talking to you, it'd be probably hard for a lot of people to, to find someone who cares as much as you and put out the same quality of work that you expect to do at every show. Yeah,
I am, as with my animal care, I am a little bit fussy on, that things should be done a certain way. And that would be really tough to have other people, and it's not my thing. Which, I mean, it's a lot of work for me, but I'm the brand, right? Like, and that's the thing. And when people contact me, I want to be the one that's going to be at the show that has talked to this mom and knows that she's a little bit nervous about snakes, but she's going to allow it, or the dad who doesn't want a bird but will allow the bird to come because the child, then I'm the one who's talked to that person, and I'm trying to listen as best I can to what they want and have ideas, and I hope that if I've not met their expectations, that they'll tell me, and it's me, and I'm responsible for that, not somebody else.
And again, it just goes to show how much you care, about all of it. It's good, because there's some people that would be like, okay, well, I'd like to get somebody in here and I could take a week off or something like that and continue the business maybe. But no, it's good. It's really good. And going back to how you said it was difficult kind of getting your name out there to begin, I assume there was no retail location, right?
Right.
So that's part of getting yourself known as a business.
Yeah.
We don't have a retail location either. So, it's hard for people to know about us. So I completely feel with you there. 'Cause, but at the same time, it's good because you've managed the animals that you have in the location that you have them versus trying to bring them to a retail location and house them there so people can see them, and then you have your sign out front so people come in oh yeah. But,
and unfortunately, that's a really tough way to. There have been other businesses that have tried to do it because, it sounds like a really great thing, right? It sounds like it's really cool, and they look at the pricing of each presentation or package, and they think, wow, that's amazing, right? But it's not quite so easy.
No, it costs a lot, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Is it's not really cost effective.
No, you have to have someone there managing the store.
Yeah, and think, oh yeah, I could totally do that. I'll bring in some animals, but again, you have to have the right animals, and you have to have the right people, and it's tough to get the word out. It's really tough. You have to be really quite busy at going out and promoting and talking to people, and being on Facebook and different social media.
Yeah,
that's almost a full-time gig as it is.
Well, again, social media wasn't that big of a thing back then, so it's even more impressive. But it's amazing though, because it's good because there's some people that jump into a retail location or something like that because they think I need to do this to get my name out there. I know it was advised to us when we started, but it's if you bite off more than you can chew, you won't last as long. But if you go slow and steady, you can build something that's long lasting in the way that you want to build it, and what's the best way for everyone involved, including the animals in your business.
Yeah. And that being said, I managed it in a way that works for my family.
Exactly.
And the amount of time that I have, as well as if my husband's working, and to just jump in and do it would not be so ideal for sure. So you grow the business and learn from the mistakes. Ooh, that was probably not the best way to do that. Okay, that's not going to work for me. And trying to change things up. And luckily with my life circumstances, that you can try different things and take some time to see if that will work out. Whereas somebody who's getting a big investment, bringing the money in and thinking, okay, in the first quarter I have to be making. Yeah. That's really tough.
Exactly. Yeah. It's stressful. You got enough on your plate.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, stressful.
Yeah.
You need this coming in, or else you're going to lose everything that you put into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be difficult. So if you don't mind, do you have any advice for those starting their own business?
Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Plug away, smile and nod, and adapt. Yeah. So maybe these great ideas that you had might not quite work out the way. So you keep your goals and keep your, your business plan or your goals and your morals, whatever you think that your business, you want it to be, keep that.
Yeah.
But maybe it's going to not quite go the way that you see it going. So you have to learn to adapt, and you have to work hard. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. A lot of time.
And you have to be certainly dedicated, and don't get too frustrated when things don't work out so well the first time, right?
That's true.
That's a common thing that we've heard. I think quite a few people we've talked to is that, like you're saying, you want to keep your end goal in sight, but you might have to veer off the path you thought you were going to take to get there, and things change, and not everything that you put down on paper is going to work out once you put it out into the real world.
Exactly, because you're counting on other people that weren't part of the plan.
Exactly.
And the other thing is passion, right? Believe in what you're doing and be passionate about it and love it.
Which we see that you got, so...
Yeah.
Well, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little tiny bit.
Seems like a lot.
Hi, everyone. This is our last commercial break. Thank you all for listening so far, and I hope you've enjoyed it. To keep up with everything that Dufferin Spotlight is doing, you should follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can find other episodes of Dufferin Spotlight on Business by looking us up on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, in addition to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Of course, the best way to see all of our stuff is to check out our website, dufferinspotlight.ca. If we are not already on your preferred platform, let us know through our website and we'll do our best to get on it. That's it for commercials, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. Plans for expansion, do you want to cover that? Or
I'm just going to keep on what I've been doing, just plugging along and coming up with new ideas. Nothing big, major plans. Just, go through the year and see how it goes and come up with the hopefully new packages with the team building and stress relief visits. But other than that, it'd be the same kind of thing. No big new animals, not changing too much that way. Just trying to build on what I have already.
Well, that corporate work could evolve into quite something else from there, right? So,
Yeah.
it's good to keep an open mind just with those packages. So that's great.
I mean, sometimes it's, not the best thing to change a good thing either, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, different little spins on things, or like you said, a couple new packages, but
Yeah. And the thing too is that it is a lot of work, and there's things that I really enjoy doing. So I don't want to change too much. I want to focus on the things that I really enjoy. Like school visits are so much fun.
Yeah.
That's, it's amazing. It's super fun to go into the schools and talk to the kids, and, so, maybe a little bit more focus on promoting towards that.
Yeah.
But no big, huge plans this year. I've expanding because it is me.
Yep.
Well, it's a lot to manage. It's amazing.
About that, right? And
So-
even touching on what you said too, right? You don't want to sacrifice some of the good things that you have for,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
for others, right?
Yeah, because some of those corporate jobs can't be as. There's always exceptions to the rule, but I would just think kids are a lot more fun than some of the corporate work. That's just my experience with some things, but
There's a job for everyone, right?
Exactly.
And, an office is not for me.
Yeah.
This is more my thing, right? So I've found what I'm pretty good at and what I like to do, and I'm pretty passionate about it. And so I'm going to, keep on making it work and change with my life as, life carries on.
And exactly, and with the places you're going now, it seems like pretty much everyone involved has their head in the game. Where the more sometimes you go to some of these corporate places, their head somewhere else. So that's awesome because everyone's, especially with the kids and the seniors' homes and some of these other places, they can actually enjoy and they'll appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Fun, right? It's fun.
Exactly.
And they're learning. Shh.
Yeah. Don't tell them.
We'll just sneak that in there, right? It's fun.
Awesome. So what would you consider to be your biggest challenge in the years ahead?
Again, getting the word out there.
Yeah.
That's always a tough one. That's a constant battle. The one thing that we do have to keep on top of it is regulations about animals. And
Oh,
exotic
yeah.
animals. Yeah. So there's talk of some bills in the works of exotic pet ownership. So that's always a bit of a tricky thing. And you have to watch your, just what's allowed and what's not allowed and what's coming. Sometimes there's changes to the province of what you're allowed to own and what you're not allowed to own. So, but luckily I don't have anything that's
Like an alligator or something.
Yeah, I've in the exotic world, I have, fairly common animals, which is good. That's one of the things too, because if people get the wrong idea and think that they're not being treated ethically, then things could change and there could be regulations brought in that could totally affect that.
Well, one bad news story, right? That's all it takes sometimes.
Sometimes it
Just
is,
ridiculous.
and things do happen. But the problem is that when you're talking about certain animals like a snake, it gets bad media really fast.
Yeah, no one talks about the good stories.
And like you're saying too, like a lot of that comes down to proper handling and care as well, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of other issues in the world going on where it doesn't take many people to do a couple bad things to ruin something that's been fine for a long time, right? So,
Yeah.
And even township to township, right? I mean, they come up with their own rules all the time on what you can and cannot have.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
that is one thing I didn't think of, but you're right. Like you never know what's can happen, right?
Rules
Yeah.
change all the time.
And I mean that, one big bill that comes in could stop my business.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
It's scary, and that is, and that's got to be tough. You really do have to keep on top of it. That is a big challenge. Jeez. Wow.
But as you were saying though before, the reptile expos, I go down to the reptile expos. I actually just went on the weekend, and oh my goodness, it was so packed. Like there were so many people, and there's so many new people that are getting, becoming really enthusiastic about it, which is amazing, right? Because then there's that many more people that are interested and are willing to stand up for, our rights to have different pets like a snake and a lizard.
Exactly. And you're helping with this too, right? Like you're helping teach these kids and yourself. So you're setting a good example, and then it will help with these animals having a good home.
Are you looking forward to anything in the near future?
March break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It's going to be busy.
It's gonna be busy. It's gonna be fun. There's all kinds of different groups. Each visit that I do, there's just always something that's fun, right? So I just want to keep on spreading the love and meeting more and more people. Hopefully, more school visits would be amazing.
Yeah.
That's a good audience for sure. So I'm just looking forward to just another really good year full of critter fun.
That's all you can ask for.
Yep.
with that too, I mean, outside of the school groups, over March break, do you get other groups of kids?
Yeah, so there's some March break. One of the days that I'm going to be down in Mississauga at the Riverwood Conservancy, and it's just people coming in.
Oh, really?
And I'm just going to be there talking, doing presentation, and I'm down there quite often. It's a great place, and they love the animals. So, and it's just different groups from the city. They fill up 3 different spots. So that's one day down there, and then I have the early on groups. I have a few of those
Cool.
to do in library shows. So it's there's always. There's in the summertime, there's camps and library programs and, early on groups. And there's all kinds of different ways to get out there and have some fun and meet the kids and adults too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they love them just as much, right?
Yeah, and we've done a couple camp, a few in the year, a few, go to like a campground and do presentations there. So it's for like a really big audience of people, just to give everyone an opportunity to have fun. At the birthday parties, a lot of the parents say, oh, this would be really fun. If only we could have an adult party. I'm like, well, hey, go for it. Like,
Give me a call.
Yeah, why not, right? Like then we can talk about these animals. Like you're never too old to learn about the animals and have some animal fun, touching them and learning about them and interacting. It's really cool. It's good for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else you'd like to mention?
I don't think so.
Awesome.
Where can people find you, contact you?
On the internet, I have a website, www.partysafari.ca. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Oh, great.
I try and hit as many as I can. Yeah.
That's good. That's more than we're hitting.
That's,
not necessarily, there's it's hit or miss. You have to watch for it.
Yeah.
But I'm always there. So, anybody can contact on any of those
it's
platforms.
easy to find you.
Yeah, exactly. And email is very common. So I get a lot of email requests. So
Great. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. And again, make sure to follow Party Safari on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, you'll see some great stuff, and that's the best way to contact them. Yeah, or through their website, partysafari.ca.
Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thanks again for coming. It was awesome having you and getting to hear what you have to say and learning about you and your business.
Yeah, and thank you again for your patience for the technical, quote-unquote, difficulties at the beginning.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me. That was fun.
Awesome. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to Jennifer for taking the time to help us out with our show, and for those of you who listened. To find out more about Party Safari and to keep up with everything they are doing, follow them on Facebook or check out their website, partysafari.ca. If you would like to learn more about the people and businesses who make Dufferin what it is, be sure to check back every Tuesday for new episodes. The easiest way to do this is to follow or subscribe to our show wherever you prefer to listen. We are currently available on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, in addition to Facebook and YouTube. Of course, you can find all of our episodes and more on our website, dufferinspotlight.ca. If there's anywhere else you'd like to see us, please let us know through our website, and we'll do our best to get on it. If you haven't had a chance to check out our last episode, it was with Ryan Hancock of the Campfire Poets. For those of you who don't already know, the Campfire Poets are one of Dufferin's best-known cover bands, and are going into their 20th year. So if you're an aspiring artist or plan on being in the entertainment industry, this is definitely worth a listen. Until next time, get to know your community and shop local.